戦国、おめえたち世界政府はいつか来る、その世界中を巻き込むほどの巨大な戦いを恐れている。
More than 10 years have passed since the serialization of the Marineford arc. In the anime One Piece, Whitebeard left a lasting impression on viewers as a power user who could control earthquakes. Then, perhaps by some twist of fate, in 2011, a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Japan. The owner of this channel was a student in Japan at the time. I was at school, and even though I was far from the epicenter, the intense shaking lasted for several seconds. That's why I can truly understand firsthand. The world of One Piece is now in chaos. Oceans throughout the world of One Piece were struck by tsunamis and earthquakes, raising the sea level by 1 meter. It feels like the stage has been set where we can envision a situation where oceans across the world get embroiled in battle. I think there are a few individuals who might have foreseen this situation, and he is likely one of them. In Chapter 1090, a conversation between Nami and Vegapunk revealed that the Straw Hat crew is headed to Elbaf. The sensation of the curtain rising on a colossal battle is palpable. The day when Shanks and Luffy meet might be drawing near. In this video, a Japanese native translator wants to delve into the current state of the One Piece world and what might unfold in the future. I'm delighted that we can share opinions from people all over the world on this channel. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Dawn Dusk. I think the current world of One Piece is being swept up in the flow of time, one of its essential themes. However, we, the readers, are likely to have one burning question. Why, after a huge hole appeared in the ruins of Relucia, did earthquakes strike the world, leading to a rise in sea levels? Granted, it's a manga, so phenomena that can't be explained by the science of our world are bound to occur. Yet the scientific theories within the world of One Piece are often detailed in the manga itself. Hence, I anticipate that the causal relationship between this massive hole, the earthquakes, and the sea level rise will be explained at some point. In this video, I want to discuss this cause and effect relationship. Let's first consider the case of rising sea levels. In our world, sea levels are believed to rise due to the expansion of seawater as it warms and the melting of mountain glaciers, as well as ice sheets and glaciers in Antarctica and Greenland. Take the Arctic as an example. A crucial process is the melting of sea ice from below by warm seawater flowing in from the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans. In reality, Pacific origin seawater entering from the Bering Strait is known to form a warm layer, akin to underfloor heating for sea ice, over the continental shelf and into the central Arctic Ocean. The situation in Antarctica is similar. Currently, the majority of sea level rise from the melting of the Antarctic ice sheet originates from the West Antarctic ice sheet facing the Amundsen Sea. Causes for this melting are reported from both oceanic and atmospheric sides. In essence, it's the melting caused by warmer seawater infiltrating near the ice sheet and the surface melting caused by the influx of warm air. So, a plausible explanation for the 1 meter rise in sea levels across the world of One Piece could be the melting of the Arctic and Antarctic ice. The existence of the Arctic and Antarctic in the world of One Piece was indeed mentioned during a quarrel between Shanks and Buggy. In Mr. Oda's initial conception notebook, there's a page with a map of the world of One Piece, clearly marking the locations of the Arctic and Antarctic. What's interesting here is the presence of warmed seawater. How can this phenomenon be explained in the world of One Piece? Let's look at Cricket's explanation. The mechanism behind the knock-up stream's occurrence has been described. Due to geothermal activity, cold seawater gets heated, leading to the generation of immense vapor pressure. This results in a massive explosion within a vast underwater cavity, giving birth to the knock-up stream. This suggests that the blue planet where Luffy and his crew live likely has something akin to a mantle. Indeed, the Straw Hat crew's voyage to Fishman Island prominently showcased the existence of underwater volcanoes. So in the world of One Piece, there likely is a mantle-like presence beneath the sea, forming these underwater volcanoes. Everything comes together here. The vast hole created by the attack using the Mother Flame reached as deep as the part of the seabed that emits geothermal energy. This may have stimulated underwater volcanoes, causing magma to flow out. The seawater, continuously pouring into this hole, was heated by the geothermal energy, resulting in a rise in seawater temperature. But where does this heated seawater go? Frankie's explanation answers this question. Ocean currents constantly travel around the world. Therefore, the water falling into the hole reached the sediment layer heated by the seabed volcanoes and geothermal energy. Likely, this geothermally heated seawater was circulated around the world by these currents. Moreover, the simultaneous global earthquakes probably caused tsunamis. I think these tsunamis hastened the delivery of the warmed seawater to the poles, either the south or north. There, vast amounts of ice were warmed by the seawater, resulting in a theory that the global sea level rose by 1 meter. Now, it's time for some critical thinking. There's a question shared by one of my Patreon members. Even if the ice melts and sea levels rise, wouldn't the global sea level decrease if water keeps falling into this hole? Indeed, despite water continuously flowing into this massive hole, the global sea level rising by 1 meter seems strange. The real culprit might be the mysterious whoop slap. Just kidding. Understanding where the fallen water goes makes it clear. The water probably reaches the bottom of the hole made by the Mother Flame, hits the sediment layer, and then re-enters the global ocean circulation cycle. The sediment layer, continuously exposed to seawater for 6 days, might have cooled down, causing the sea level rise to halt at just 1 meter. Another question I received was, what's the relationship between the earthquake and the hole at the site of Lulusia? 6 days after the Mother Flame attack, there was an earthquake in the world of One Piece. The cause of this earthquake might be related to a mechanism called trapdoor fault rupture, induced by underwater volcanoes. The Mother Flame attack even shattered the seabed, allowing magma to flow into it. This magma flow exerts an upward force, causing fault lines to shift, thereby resulting in an earthquake. There's evidence supporting this theory. Consider the warm water vortex that appeared involving the infantilized Bonnie. Looking at Jinbei's explanation, somewhere a warm water mass is being pushed up. By the way, Luffy and the others encountered Bonnie a few days after the attack on Lulusia. This means that the seawater heated at the bottom of Lulusia's hole took a few days to reach the opposite side of the red line near Egghead. This warm water likely created the vortex. An important key to this theory's future might be the existence of the Arctic and Antarctic in the world of One Piece. Do you recall a country in the One Piece world that evokes the imagery of the poles? It's the Land of Ice, rumored to be where Oars was found. According to Moria, Oars defeated a country 500 years ago and annexed the entire island into his territory, forming a nation of outlaws. This story gave birth to the legend of pulling a country. While Oars died at the age of 159, considering the lifespan of giants being 300 years, it is clear that Oars' parents' generation were the ancient giants who lived during the Void Century. I discussed in a previous video the theory that these giants were allies of the Great Kingdom because they still worship the sun god. This is linked with the Shandians, who also believed in the sun god and inherited the mission of protecting the poneglyphs. Thus, it's highly plausible that the giants had a similar mission from the Great Kingdom. I explained in another video my theory that Loki, born a prince of Elbaf, might be guarding the last road poneglyph. Please watch if interested. Adding to this, considering no giants were part of the Navy, an arm of the world government, until John Giant joined, it's likely that they, like the Great Kingdom, were adversaries of the world government. Moreover, when we think of the Arctic and Antarctic, we're reminded of the argument between Shanks and Buggy. Shanks insisted the Antarctic was colder. While the reason for his tears remains unknown, considering the assertion that finding the One Piece would turn the world upside down, the truth of the world might have been 180-degree different from what Shanks believed. He, who had been insisting on the Antarctic, might have become interested in its opposite, the Arctic. Later, Shanks commented in Makino's bar, "After 2 or 3 more voyages, I'm thinking of leaving this village and heading far north." Fuchsia Village is located in the northern part of East Blue. This likely means their destination was the Arctic. What was Shanks's objective in heading to the Arctic? It's plausible he went to investigate something about the history of the Great Kingdom. While the reason Oars was in the Land of Ice is yet to be disclosed, there's a possibility it had some connection with the giants. Shanks also told Buggy he planned to take his time traveling the world, suggesting he was exploring places related to the Great Kingdom and the Void Century. I think the information about the ancient giant Oars, who died in the Land of Ice, was obtained from the giants. In fact, Shanks had a friendly relationship with the giants. It was revealed in chapter 1076 that Shanks had been friends with Dorry and Brogy from Little Garden in Elbaf. From a native Japanese perspective, the old friend, Kyoryu Shanks, referred to here, is more likely pointing to Saul than Dorry and Brogy. Shanks said, "I met an old friend we both thought was dead." In this case, the presence of the word both, tagaini, in the phrase implies that both the speaker and the listener are the subjects. Therefore, if the term old friend, Kyoryu, referred to the relationship between Shanks and Dorry and Brogy, it would mean Shanks believed Dorry and Brogy had died, and conversely, Dorry and Brogy believed Shanks had died. However, Dorry and Brogy have been in Little Garden, so they wouldn't have known whether Shanks was alive or not. It's unlikely they thought Shanks was dead. Furthermore, their duel began 100 years ago, so Shanks must have met them mid-duel. Thus, it doesn't make sense for Shanks to have received information that Dorry and Brogy had died. There's a resolution to this issue. The old friend Shanks referred to might be Saul. Rereading the sentence with Saul as the old friend makes more sense. We all met an old friend whom we believed had died. In this context, with Dorry and Brogy as the listeners, the subjects of the sentence would be all 3 of them, Shanks, Dorry, and Brogy, and they all believed Saul had died. Also, if the term old friend truly referred to both Dorry and Brogy, the plural form old friends, Kyu Tachi, should have been used. While Japanese doesn't have a true plural form, it can express plurality by adding tachi after a noun. From this, it's inferred that Shanks had not only met Dorry and Brogy, but also Saul in the past. So when was Saul believed to have died? During the O'Hara incident 22 years ago. This means Shanks must have met him at least 22 years prior. I'd like to propose a possibility. After the dissolution of the Roger Pirates 24 years ago, where do you think Shanks went? It's his hometown. He might have ventured to Mariwa to contact the world government, but there's a high likelihood he returned West Blue. O'Hara, a significant island for historical research, is located in West Blue. Consider Saul's statement. All the scholars I've captured so far seem to only genuinely want to know about history. Furthermore, in chapter 1066, it was revealed that Dr. Clover was captured by the government multiple times. Their base of operations was O'Hara in West Blue. So Saul must have frequently visited West Blue as part of his job to apprehend such ships, which increases the chances he met Shanks there. Do you know when Shanks formed his pirate crew? When Shanks encountered Usopp in Syrup Village 22 years ago, he wasn't a pirate yet. However, by 19 years ago, Usopp had joined the red-haired pirates. This means Shanks must have established his crew sometime between 22 and 19 years ago. If Shanks met Saul before the O'Hara incident, that would place their meeting over 22 years ago. At that time, Shanks hadn't yet officially formed the red-haired pirates, so it's plausible he could have forged a friendly relationship with the Marine Saul. I think this encounter led Shanks to Elbaf and Little Garden, deepening his ties with the Giants. Armed with information about the Giants, who likely had links to a vast kingdom, Shanks might have decided to venture to the Icy Nation in the East Blue or the North Pole. The news of Saul's death during the O'Hara incident 22 years ago might even have spurred him to form the red-haired pirates. The figurehead of the red-haired pirates' ship, the Red Force, is adorned with a design resembling a dragon's face. A similar design can be spotted in Elbaf. Elbaf is known for its gigantic fish and massive flora and fauna, suggesting the giant egg could also have ties to Elbaf. Currently, the Straw Hat crew plans to depart from Egghead and head towards Elbaf. While it's unclear how they'll approach Elbaf, if my predictions in this video are correct and the Grand Fleet indeed arrives at Egghead, he might welcome the Straw Hats to Elbaf. The massive battle Whitebeard referred to could literally center around the giant island of Elbaf. And the island bearing the name in Elbaf, Warland, an island of battle.
Luffy.